The morph mechanic wasn't actually introduced into Magic the Gathering until the Onslaught block, but the groundwork for it was actually laid all the way back in Alpha. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to discuss the morph mechanic. What is it flavor-wise? What is it mechanically? Where did it come from? All of that goodness. And the reason that I decided to talk about that is because today, Commander 2019's deck previews all revolve around the morph deck. So there's a bunch of people talking about the different cards, but I imagine there's not many people who are out there talking about the history behind it. So let's start all the way back at Alpha. How is morph tied to Alpha? Well, morph underneath it all is bluffing. That's the concept behind morph, is the secrets that are involved. Okay, what do I have here? What's it going to turn into? What am I capable of? So the first card in Magic that ever allowed for this sort of trickery is a card called Illusionary Mask. Now, when you look at the wording on this old school card, you'll realize it doesn't actually give you all the information that you need to work with it. You just kind of had to muddle through it. So it's a 2 casting cost artifact. You pay X and it says you can summon a creature face down. And just so you know, summoning is the old school flavorful term that they used to use for casting a spell. Basically, when it enters the battlefield, casting it, that concept is summon. So it's you play a creature spell, you cast a creature spell, you summon a creature spell. Those all mean the same thing. So pay X. You can summon a creature face down so opponent doesn't know what it is. The X cost can be any amount of mana, even 0. It serves to hide the true casting cost of the creature, which you still have to spend. As soon as a face down creature receives damage, deals damage, or is tapped, turn it face up. Now you'll notice in this scenario, first of all, actually, in case you don't understand exactly how this works, it lets you play, first of all, you can play creature spells for any colored mana. So you could pay like 6 colorless if you want to, and you'd be able to, instead of having to worry about the casting cost of particular creatures, you can just use colorless mana. So if you had a 6 cost creature, you could pay 6 mana, play it face down, and you would play the 6 colorless. Now you cannot choose to pay less than the casting cost of the creature. Illusionary Mask is a very trust-oriented card, so you're not going to get caught cheating until it is revealed what the creature is. So theoretically, you could cheat with it, but let's just assume you're not a cheater. So you have to pay at bare minimum the casting cost of the creature, but you're allowed to pay any amount more. To use a current card as an example, imagine you had Risen Reef, which is a blue, a green, and a colorless to put out, right? Well, bare minimum, you have to pay 3 colorless to put it out, and you put it out face down through the Illusionary Mask. So it's not actually being cast technically, so it can't really be countered in the normal means either. But anyways, you could pay 3 colors. You could also go all the way up to 10 colors or more if you wanted to, just so your opponent doesn't know what it is. I'll pay 11 mana, put this face down. What creature is it? You have absolutely no concept. Now, you have problems where, wait, I've got a creature face down. How do I know if it's power and toughness, even like make it survive, or all this kind of stuff? There's so many questions that are left unanswered by Illusionary Mask. They've updated its wording so that any creature you put out with it is actually treated the same as a morph in terms of being a 2/2. So all face down creatures in Magic the Gathering are 2/2s now, which I think is an excellent way to handle business. Now flash forward to the Onslaught block where morphs are first brought into being. Now flavor-wise, the concept behind morphs are that they're created by people like Ixidor who can bring their dreams to life. And I actually have a lore video on Ixidor in my lore playlist. So if you want to know more about Ixidor, go on back, because you're going to have to go way back. It's an older lore video. But regardless, Ixidor had the ability to essentially bring his dreams into reality by painting them. And he created these morph creatures that would crack out of they have a very spider-like being, and that's why they're shaped like a spider. Onslaught's symbol for the set is actually a little morph spider creature. You can see that in the newly spoiled Vesuvan Shapeshifter, where it is one of the, if you notice at the feet of the one that is stepping out, it's actually coming out of its morph shell. So the original idea behind Morph for Onslaught were these creatures inside of these shells, and it gives you the capability of bluffing. You don't know, okay, what's what. But on top of the illusionary mask, sort of, let's keep this creature a secret, you also have the benefit of a lot of morph creatures would have face flipping abilities, I guess is what you want to call it. When you turn them face up, you get some kind of ability. In some cases with the morph creatures, it's really just turn it face up and it's a big creature, so you can be like, surprise, you blocked the wrong morph. But the majority of morph creatures have an ability that triggers when you turn them face up, which adds to the bluffing element as well, because it's not only now I can attack depending on how you block or play your creature destruction spells, you may not hit my big guys, you also don't know what kind of abilities I have. Is my creature going to flip up and bounce a creature? Is my creature going to flip up, make a creature untargetable? Is my creature going to flip up and put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on somebody? There are a wide range of abilities that go along with Morph, and Morph has been represented multiple ways in terms of the thematic flavor to it. You have, as I've already mentioned, the Ixodor method of Morphs, where everything is a weird little 8-legged spider going blah, 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 and then bouncing out, right? And then you have another variation of Morph, and actually with the original variation of Morph, just to talk about it, those Morph spider shells, there's a card that illustrates what it looks like inside of one of those Morph shells, and that is Zoetic Cavern. Zoetic Cavern is actually meant to show what it looks like to be inside of the Morph shell. Now keep in mind, that's only the Morph shell for the Onslaught block with the spider typings of Morphs, because they actually brought back Morph and reconcepted it for Khans of Tarkir. And so in the Khans of Tarkir block, the idea behind that is it's very draconic focused. It was Dragons Matter. It's about a world where dragons ruled at one point, got wiped out, oh wait, dragons rule again, sort of time-traveling dragon spirits. There's a heavy emphasis on dragons, draconic magic, and that's actually what the Morph is in the Khans of Tarkir block. You have these rapid strike raiders and things like that that have developed draconic magics that allow them to shield their presence. So instead of being the 8-legged, I'm a little morph crab, instead you get this almost, I'm the Hadouken from Street Fighter 2, Hamorphin! And you've got this kind of draconic swirl, and at first at the front of it, it just looks like kind of coruscating energy in a giant ball. But if you look along the sides and more towards the tail on like the tokens that they use to represent these morphs, you can see what feels almost like draconic skin and scales. So it's a reimagining where, just like with the spider things, you know, oh my god, each one of these spiders, anything could crack out of that shell. Well, you know as well that these swirling balls of coruscating draconic energy could also be hiding any number of different beasts and creatures. So you have that kind of a concept, and actually Khans of Tarkir tweaked the concept as well by going Megamorph, which is a funky concept in terms of, like, what Megamorph does is when you morph the creature, when you turn it face up, it adds a +1/+1 counter to the creature as well. So it's like a souped up version of Morph, where not only does this cloak the creature, not only does the draconic magic cloak the creature, but when it is freed from inside, or I guess not freed because it's not trapped, once it chooses to reveal itself, once it bursts free from inside of this draconic ball of magic energy, that energy then infuses the creature, strengthening them. And I personally think that is a pretty flavorful concept. I like that we have different variations of Morph. It does bring an interesting element of bluffing to the game, and I think it's cool that it was inspired by something all the way back in the beginning of Magic, because originally when Illusionary Mask came out, I really, really liked it. I loved just being able to make my opponents go, what do you got? And it's like, psh, I ain't telling you, bro. I ain't telling you till I got to. So for me, Morph is one of the cooler abilities in the game. It's not something they've used frequently. It's only been in the 2 blocks. It doesn't have an evergreen kind of feel like First Strike or flying or anything like that, but it is something that they can keep reusing. I look forward to seeing more Morph in the future, and I hope they come up with other interesting tweaks to the concept as well, because you start with Illusionary Mask, where it's simply bluff hiding the cards. Then you move to Morph, where it's bluff hiding the cards plus flip up abilities. Then you move to Mega Morph, where it's bluff, flip up abilities, and +1/+1 counters. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next iteration of Morph is that gives it a little more oomph. Oh yeah, baby. So let me know what you guys think about this brief history of Morph and what you think of Morph overall. I want to thank my patrons and my channel members. And remember,
together we